Hey, this is Ed Bryant, the Gun Safety Guy, with another episode of the Gun Safety Guide. And what we're doing now is we're going to go through the practical pre-qualification for instructor candidates who want to become certified NRA pistol instructors. All of the information on the pre-qual is provided in this document. You can get from your training counselor or download when you register for the course on the NRA website. The first part of the practical pre-qualification involves basic gun handling, the basic ability to load and unload single-action revolvers, double-action revolvers, and semi-automatics. So here's what I expect to see. I expect that when you're given a revolver in order to load it, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that the gun's unloaded. That means you're going to open the loading gate. If at that time the cylinder does not turn, then that's an indication that it's an older type that requires you go back 2 clicks to the half-cock position in order to rotate the cylinder. And once you have the cylinder rotating, then we expect you to load it. This is a 6-shooter, so we expect you to load it with 5 rounds. And the reason for that is in the older revolvers particularly, we don't want the hammer or firing pin coming to rest on a live round, on a primer. So once I have my 5 rounds in, I'm going to make sure that the next chamber is the empty one. I'm going to go ahead and bring the hammer back and let it down. When decocking a revolver, you always want to make sure that as the hammer is approaching the rest position, you have your finger off the trigger, because keeping it off the trigger will take advantage of any interlocks that can keep the gun from going off if the hammer should slip. Now that I have a gun that is loaded, the task is going to be to unload it. So again, maybe you're just going to be getting a loaded gun and then you have to demonstrate how to unload it. So once again, you're going to open the loading gate. If the cylinder doesn't turn, that indicates you need to go back to a half-cock position. And if you go too far, well, you have to bring it all the way back, all the way down, and then back to half-cock again. Gravity usually works with these dummy rounds, but I want the instructor candidate also to show me that he knows how to use the ejector rod. And so we'll make sure that we unload all 5 rounds. We're going to double check that the gun is unloaded, and we're going to set it down with the loading gate open and the hammer at half cock. Double action revolvers are more simple. You're going to be given the revolver and demonstrate that you know how to open the cylinder. Cylinder latches are different depending on the different brands and types of double action revolvers. In this case, we're going to load a cylinder full. Usually that's going to be 6 rounds, but it could be 5, it could be 7, could be 8, could be more. And once we have the cylinder loaded, we're going to go ahead and close it. Now, one thing that I'm looking for is that you know how to handle a revolver with the left hand. We always handle revolvers with the left hand, load with the right, whether you're right or left-handed. And we have complete control of the cylinder between the thumb and the 2 middle fingers. So I go ahead and now the revolver is loaded. I want to unload it. Again, open the cylinder latch. And gravity is going to do the work for us here, but I want you to demonstrate that you know how to use the ejector rod if in case you run into some stubborn cases that get stuck after they've been shot. We're then going to set the gun down with the cylinder open so that I can see that in fact it is unloaded. The third kind of gun that we're going to demonstrate loading on is going to be the semi-automatic. And typically you'll get the gun in a condition where the slide is forward, and it'll be up to you to indicate to find out whether or not the gun is loaded. That always means first magazine out, then slide back, make sure it's locked back, check both the chamber and the mag well to make sure there's no ammunition present. So once you're certain that the gun is unloaded, you can demonstrate that you know how to load the magazine. And some of these are going to be easier than others. Some of them are going to be 22 caliber, some are going to be 38, some are going to be 45. So you need to demonstrate that you're knowledgeable in the basically in the world of handguns, because after all, that's what you're going to be teaching. All right, now I have my magazine loaded. It's going to be inserted in the magazine well. We're going to let the slide go forward. We now have a loaded gun. And if there's a safety, I expect the safety to be put on. How do we unload? Again, always I expect to see the magazine out first. I expect to see the magazine then racked. You may have to take the safety off. And then we're going to lock the slide back, double check the chamber, double check the magazine well so that we know the gun is empty. And that is the basic routine of gun handling, loading and unloading that we expect to see from our instructor candidates.